G'day ladies and gents, welcome to War Thunder with Mags, and welcome to the BF 109K-4. Now this video is going to be all about the head-ons. Now I've done a video about this in the past. When was it appropriate to go head-to-head with the target and when is it not? It didn't seem that most people got it, so here we are again. Now the K4, battle rating 5.7, I'm in a match where the majority of, well, all of the allied team is in prop fighters, BF 109s, 190 D13s, so on and so forth. The enemy team is largely F80Cs. I know what a wonderful matchmaker we have to play with. Now, I run my K4 light these days. I don't use the wing pod, so I've just got the 30mm and the 50caliber machine guns that come with the K4 as standard. Now, when flying aircraft like the K4, going head-to-head with enemy jets is actually not such a bad idea. You're in the more nimble aircraft. Things like the K4 can generally take more damage than most jet fighters can. You're armed with a 30mm cannon as well as 50caliber machine guns. Overall, everything works in your favour in terms of being able to deliver the firepower and then get out of the way of the oncoming shots. When you are flying an F80C, however, going head-to-head against a prop is not a great idea, for exactly the same reasons I just listed. The prop is more manoeuvrable than you. It is likely going to be able to dodge out of your line of fire if the player is good. You, however, moving at high speed, diving on a target, have a very, very limited control of your elevation and all your manoeuvrability. Even when you make the turn, the plane is not going to turn away from the target as fast as you might think. This means the enemy aircraft is going to be able to get shots into you, and F80Cs, or jet fighters in general, will not take hits from 30mm. It will destroy them. Now, having said that, the K4 can't afford to take too many hits either, as you'll see, but this should give you the idea. First target has presented itself. Thunder. Just dipping the nose, killing the WEP, getting ready to line up my shot. He's going to come straight at me. He's already firing, he's got the lead wrong. Boom, first kill. Now, he got some hits on, but as you can see, I swallowed up his 50caliber hits. I'm still flying, he's missing a wing. So that's my first kill of the match. Peel away, dip the dive a little bit to get a little bit of airspeed up, just assessing the damage. Overall manoeuvrability is still good, wings are pinked leading onto red, but control is still fine, the plane is still flying well. I'm not exiting out of this fight just yet, especially not when there's another F80C up here, so I'm going to go up and deal with him next. Climbing back to altitude. Now there is F8Fs and B24s on the team too, but the large amount of this team, there was 4 F80Cs, a Thunderjet, and a P80. The Thunderjet and P80 went low and got eliminated very early on in the match during the climb process. They tried to rush the ground forces and got stomped for their efforts. Everybody else is up here in the sky. Now, I don't recommend aircraft like the K4 go head-to-head with jets at all times. If the pilot goes to low altitude and stays down there, the K4 is actually capable of accelerating and matching speeds with something like the F80 for a very limited window of time. Position the prop above and then dive in on the target, you'll fall in on its tail and you'll kill it quite easily. And here's our second F80C. Now let's see if he has learnt more than the first one did. Dip the nose down and duck underneath. Just roll over. He was trying to approach from behind, so he had sort of the right idea. Following its tail, he gets it into the vertical. Just following him around. Try for range shots. He's trying to pull away, hit the WEP. I need to get my airspeed back up. The acceleration of the K4, especially when it hasn't got wing pods on, is phenomenal. It is one of the fastest accelerating prop fighters in the game. The F80C has pulled out of range, however, but he dipped down into a dive to do it. You can see, even though it's a jet, the rate that it's gaining distance on me is not as high as you would expect. The enemies B-17 and B-24 are working over our ground targets really hard. We have lost half of our tickets, but we are still in the fight as a team. And here it is, the F-80C is making its turn. Keep the WEP up, I want to keep the airspeed high. Water is starting to get a little warm, but I'm not really worried. Fire the shots in the lead. Second kill. So, 2 F-80Cs to my K4. I've taken critical damage to the right wing. Unfortunately, this was the point where I actually killed myself. The plane was stable enough at this point at slow speeds that I would have been able to keep it in the air and gently bring it down. It would have taken me time to drop altitude to the runway, but I am almost on top of the runway. Instead, for some reason, I decided to dive down, and I began to pass out to high speeds, up towards 700 kilometers an hour, and I began standing on the elevators, and the plane refused to pull out of the dive. So I killed myself. The F-80C gets a score for it, but my death was for my own stupidity. If I'd brought my altitude down far more slowly, I would have survived and landed this. Regardless of my death, F-80C pilots do not go nose to nose with K4s. I don't want the F-80C getting a lower battle rating than it's already got. Let's move on to the next battle. Now for our next match, the 217J-1, the first of the 217 series. Era 2, this is a night fighter configuration, marked by the all-black paint job. It is not equipped with radar like the J2 is. Not that having a radar equipped makes a difference in the game at this time. Now this plane's defensive gunners, a 50 caliber machine gun and a number of 7.7mm machine guns. Forward firing armament is 4 20mm cannons, and these are long nose cannons. They're quite accurate at range. Just beginning to make my turn down the river, I was primarily hunting bombers at the start of this match. I was flying a defensive screen in front of our base area bombing targets. Now this match is Germany versus Britain and the United States. The United States pilots in this match are players that in the very near future are going to have access to the F-80C. These are future jet pilots. After what you saw in the last match, just keep that in mind. Always remember that your ability to perform in higher level aircraft is based entirely upon what you learn in lower level aircraft. So I'm continuing my patrol following the river, still looking for bombers. I was checking the bomber spawn point visually when I took off. I didn't see any dots, so I'm still not entirely sure if the enemy team has any. If they have, they've likely taken off from the runway, so they will be coming in with their fighter swarms. Just punch the weapon, gain a little bit of altitude. I want the dive speed to be able to bring this thing down if I need to. It's not a particularly fast plane, but it's fast enough to catch most bombers that it'll encounter at this sort of a level, providing it's got a little bit of dive speed up. It's not looking like there's any here, however. The Ju-87 ahead of me would be able to proxy spot any bombers further up the river, and nothing's being lit, so there's none there. I do, however, see a Beaufighter that looks like it's engaging something at the moment. It's engaged with a A1 Focke-Wulf 190, so I decided to go over and give him a little bit of a hand. Beaufighters can be a bit of a problem if you let them get on your 6. Dipping the nose and just keeping the WEP on, heading out towards 500 kilometers an hour. This should close the distance on the Beaufighter fast. Heavily in manoeuvres, it won't be much above 300 kilometers an hour, so it's not going to be able to escape from me. So I'm going to boom into Do 217. 1.7k is out. Out to 1 kilometre. Now I should probably make it clear, this guy is not the guy that I'm talking about. This guy was not a bad pilot. Saw me coming in, rolled over and dipped underneath. Flaps to combat, coming on his 6. People often see this thing and think of it as a bomber. It's not, it's a heavy fighter. Manoeuvrability wise, it is almost a match for the Beaufighter. It is a slightly faster aircraft and has equivalent levels of armament. So when you see them doing things like this, it tends to surprise people. Bring it back around, take the lead, get some hits, nothing critical. Rear gunners have a go as they go past. He dips down into the trees a little, so I do the same. Trying to close distance, 109 is engaging him, misses the shots. He pulls the loop around and bring the guns on. Take him to the vertical, fire for effect, take his wing, first kill. Invert the dough, roll out. The plane is a little heavy, and its roll rate is terrible. So you really do need to plan and pull out of manoeuvres like that. And here's our first victim. Head on number 1, there goes a Kitty Hawk. Not a single 50 caliber round struck my aircraft. I just tore his plane in half. He's on fire, he's going down. So that's kill number 1. Now, you would think seeing that, you'd realise, I've just killed a Beaufighter, I've just killed a P-40, maybe head-onning this thing in a more manoeuvrable aircraft, like say a Hurricane, would be a bad idea, but no, there's kill number 3. Now what gets me here is the Hurricane 2 and especially the P-40 are both manoeuvrable enough to easily get around me. They didn't need to head on in order to get shots into me to try and take me out, yet they both chose that as a viable option. They both chose flying down at 4 20mm cannons over trying to manoeuvre around on my rear and rip the plane up from behind, where I'd have very, very limited options to do anything about it. But that's alright, that was just 2 that did it. I'll turn back into combat because there's nothing over here to engage. Surely the rest of the team won't make the same mistake. It is probably worth noting here again, the P-40 did not manage to hit me. The Hurricane 2 did not manage to hit me. I'm yet to take damage in this match. 453 rounds of cannon still on board, heading back into the fight. Now I do have a wingman for this match. It's BRS Squadron's RPG 720. He shot me a message and asked to go for a flyout, so we did. He's already taken his first kill of the match and he's passing through the area. Now, 2 targets ahead, F6F and an F4F, both armed with multiple 50 caliber machine guns, both extremely fast and highly manoeuvrable aircraft, easily able to outturn and get in behind a Doe 217 and rip it up from behind. Should be no problems. Going into this fight should be suicide for a Doe 217. Dip the nose down to gain airspeed, target presents itself, F6, F3, fire the shots, and there's another kill. And another F6F coming in. Now, he cannot make the same mistake. He just can't. He won't. He won't. Come on, he won't. He's not going to do it. He does it. There's another kill. At this point in the match, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It's just every single time of machines that are easily able to get behind a Doe 217 and they just fly straight at your guns. Now these 2 pilots, they did do better than the last ones. They have managed to put shots into the airframe. The right engine in particular has taken damage specifically to the oil system and the cooling systems. The airframe has the slightest amount of pink on it. It hasn't affected manoeuvrability at all. If I was smart at this point, I would have gone back to base, landed and gone for a repair. However, I decided to stay in the fight. There's only 2 aircraft left. They're both over at the enemy's second runway. I'm not too concerned about the damage at this point in time, and I've still got over 250 rounds of ammunition on board. So, there's one of our 2 targets, 7 kilometres out, Spitfire. About the same altitude. I'll climb up a little bit more. I am watching my oil temperature here a little. But there it goes, it's all cooled off now. Nothing to worry about. Now RPG is getting engaged by the Spitfire, so I'm moving to assist my wingman, as is the right thing to do. I know what the last aircraft is. It's a premium A6M2, and there it is there. Up until that point I was unsure exactly where it is, but they're both on the runway. Unfortunately, RPG takes a critical hit from the A6M2 and doesn't make it out of the dive. So, time to go and avenge my teammate. Now, the A6M2 has proven itself to be smart, and this is a Spitfire pilot, easily more manoeuvrable again, and no, he's not going to do it. No, And yeah, no, he does. Every single time. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the future jet pilots of War Thunder. How does that make you feel? Unfortunately, this was the point where I overextended myself. The Spitfire did get some 20mm hits in and has done crippling damage to both engines. It's only slightly pink at the moment, red on the left engine, only slightly pink on the right, but take into account the right engine has already suffered cooling damage, it has already suffered oil system damage. It's already taken a beating. These two engines are in disintegration mode now. They're not going to stay up. Zero Pilot comes in and does it right, takes a shot and just snipes out my right engine. I don't get the guns around fast enough to get onto him, unfortunately. It's now inverted. My right engine is just about to die. I'm struggling to level the plane out, but I managed to, just enough to get it off, and it was at this point the other engine has gone black. Engaged the Zero with the tail gunners, put some rounds into him, enough to make him break off. You can see I've done crippling damage to his cooling systems, or his oil systems. But unfortunately, one of my engines is already dead and the other one is moments away from dying. This plane will not make it back to base now. I'm almost at the enemy base. I'm so far across the map and there is nothing close, so I'm trying to find a spot to land. Luckily, none of the aerodynamics of the aircraft are damaged, so I should be able to glide it in if I can find a large enough area to put it down. Just scanning the area for landing points. Unfortunately, the clear zones in the area that I was in were not really large enough to suit my purposes, although I probably could have pulled the landing off if I was careful. Zero comes in to give it another go. Back on the defensive gunners straight away, more hits into the aircraft. It would have been nice if I could have lit this thing on fire, but unfortunately this time I did not have the new belts unlocked. Managed very carefully to slip this thing through the trees. I got very lucky on the right wing there and I managed to put it down on the ground. Defensive gunners are still going. I'm under full brakes to pull the aircraft up. I probably should have cannon braked at this point in time. I still had 153 rounds on board. I didn't think to do it at the time. I have a habit of not doing that at all, so I didn't manage to pull the plane up before I hit the houses. Threw the tree snaps off the wing and that's the end of my match. So, the results for the match. First place for the team was 6 kills and 1 death. RPG 720 comes in at 3rd place. Teamwork Award, Multi-Strike X3, Fighter Hunter, Windstreak X4, The Best Squad, Terror of the Sky, 88,830 silver lions and 3,249 base research points. And that was enough aircraft research points from that point to spade the entire aircraft in a match, from about 50% upgraded. So, 6 kills. 6, and 5 of them head-ons that the enemy pilots had absolutely no reason to enter into. If any of them had just broken to the right or to the left, pulled up sharply beyond the elevation of the 217, looped back around, they could have dropped straight in behind and taken my tail off with 50 caliber machine gun fire, 20mm on the Spitfires, or hell, even the Hurricane Mark II has enough 7.62mm machine guns on board to saw this thing in half. There wasn't a single reason for any of those aircraft to die. Yet here I am with 6 kills. There are very specific circumstances where going head-on is the right thing to do, where going head-to-head is the best way of potentially taking out your enemy. But most of the time, going head-to-head is the absolute worst thing you can do. I said it in the last video and I'll say it again. Every time you do it, you need to ask yourself the question, is the one kill that I may get here worth the rest of the kills that I could potentially get this match? Anyways, ladies and gents, hope you enjoyed the video. Click like if you do, subscribe if you want to see more. Fly smart, fly safe, and I'll catch you in the skies.